Invincible Season 2, Episode 5. So we are back, baby. We're back from several months of the first half of Season 2 ending. I mean, it's been since what? November? October? I can't even remember. It's been a while. We're in March, so at least 3 months. So, when we last left off in Invincible, Episode 4, Mark had gone to Thraxa. His father had called him out there by tricking him, and the Vultramites attacked him, and pretty much they defeated Nolan, Omni-Man, and Invincible very easily. Well, not very easily. They took him out because they had more numbers, and Omni-Man was taken to be executed, and Invincible was left behind because he needs to take on Omni-Man's mission to conquer Earth. So we start off this season, episode 5, right where we left off. Invincible is beat up again. Yeah, like he's never beat up. And a couple of Draxons come and help him, take him over to the capital where he meets Nolan's new wife, the Draxon lady. I can't remember her name. And his brother Oliver, which I don't think they name him, which... FYI, spoilers throughout. I'm just going to be talking spoilers throughout. So if you haven't seen the episode, go check it out. It's an amazing episode. Really fantastic. Love the ending, and I can't wait for the next episode. It's a 9 out of 9 for me. So, Mark gets taken over to the capital, and he's hurt, and he's like, what am I going to do? And we kind of flash forward where Mark is rebuilding the city and everything, and... Nolan's, Omni-Man's new wife comes over, and she's like, it's time for you to go. The spaceship has been built. You need to go help your people. And Mark feels bad. He wants to stay there to help them more, but she's pretty much like, well, there's not much else you can do. In time, we will, all this will be rebuilt, and we'll be fine. So she's like, but I need you to do me a favor. She's like, I need you to take my son with you to Earth. And Mark's like, no, I can't do that. He needs his mom. And she's like, we age a lot faster than you. Because now she's pretty much an old lady from what we saw her earlier in the episode, just minutes ago. It's been 2 months, and she's aged, and, she has like a month maybe to live, a week, 2 weeks, who knows. But that's what she tells him. She's like, by the time I'm gone and he's old enough to speak, I'm going to be gone. By the time... he's able to walk and everything like that, generations of our people will be gone. He won't know anyone. Everyone he knows will die, and the next people who know he'll die, they'll be dead. So she's like, I don't want him to live this way, so I need you to take him home. She's like, it was different when Omni-Man was here because his father could have taken care of him, but now that he's gone, someone else needs to do that. So Mark ends up agreeing, and he ends up going back to Earth, and he first goes to see his mom, which she's very surprised and happy, but then she sees little Oliver, and she's like, whose son is that? So, Mark explains off screen what happened, and she's very upset. She's like, we're always cleaning up Nolan's messes, and he's always destroying lives. It's completely unfair. And Mark's like, yeah, I know, I understand, but, this is kind of something we have to do. So she's kind of slightly on board. She's not happy about it, but she understands the situation. And from there we go, Mark goes back to college to visit William and Amber. And William's like, what happened? Mark's like, I saw my dad. I'll explain it to you later, but I have to go see Amber. So he goes to see Amber, and, Amber is happy and excited. But as they get talking, we learn that during those 2 months, she's had a hard time because her grandfather passed away, and her grades started slipping in school, which Mark feels very bad about. Understandably, he's like, "We're dating, and I let you down." She's like, "It's okay, I understand. I understand the deal when we got together." But of course, she's still upset, even if she doesn't show it. It's kind of a sucky thing, if you're married to a superhero and they disappear for several months on end, it's hard on a relationship. And this is something we'll see several times throughout this series if we get many more seasons. that Mark often is just gone for long periods of time from Earth or from his loved ones, and it often affects his relationships. He's off doing the right thing, but of course it hurts the people closest to him because they don't get to see him. He doesn't get to interact with them, and it's just damaging. It's hard not to be able to see someone. So, well, I guess I skipped a little ahead. Before Mark got to Amber, he's confronted by Cecil, who's like, I gave you orders, you need to be obeying my orders. That was our deal. And we find out that Debbie's house is bugged, so he already knows about Nolan and everything, and he wants to take Oliver away from Mark. He's like, we have the facilities and everything to take care of him. But Mark gets angry. He's like, no, do not touch him, do not take him. We're going to have issues if you do, pretty much. So Cecil is just like, okay, for now, I'll back off. And we also get to learn that while Mark was gone, that the Guardians of the Globes and a lot of the heroes were almost defeated by Omnipotus. Always forget his name. This big bad guy. We see a few flashbacks of on their big fight. So Cecil's like, we need you on Earth. You can't just be taking off. So, they say their piece and they're separate. And there's a lot going on in this episode. So next, if I'm skipping, different storylines, I'm sorry about it, but I'm just trying to recap everything as much as I can remember. So then we see Donald, who in the last season, or last half of the season, we saw he died the first season and he was brought back to life, and we find out he's a cyborg. He confronts Cecil saying, the house I was in when we attacked Omni-Man, it was completely destroyed and everything. How am I alive? And Cecil just tries to lie through it. He's like, oh, you were badly hurt, but we were able to save you. He's like, you just had some bad burns. And Donald, pulls out his arm Terminator style and shows his robotic parts. He's like, yeah, you call this a bad burn? So Cecil fesses up and he's like, your body was destroyed, but your mind was okay. So they essentially put him in a robot's body, making him a cyborg. And Donald is obviously very upset about this, and understandably so. So he's just like, you can't. He's like, you've done a lot of cold-hearted things, Cecil, but this is beyond that, because Donald is actually a good friend of Cecil's. So of course it upsets him. He's like, how do you do that to one of your close friends? It's very upsetting, and you can't really trust someone like that. But Donald he's just like, okay, we have a lot going on, so I'm just gonna move forward as much as he can. But as we see later in the episode, he has nightmares about being a cyborg, and we'll see how this affects him later on in the series. And this is something new that wasn't really in the comics. In the comics, he was already a cyborg, android, whatever you want to call him, before the start of Invincible. That happened to him before the series started. I want to say it happened in the Brit comic book, which is part of the Invincible universe. The Brit's like this indestructible British person. I want to say, I haven't read those comics. I haven't, but I haven't read them. I want to say that's when he became a cyborg or android. But either way, this is new to the Invincible series, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this storyline, if it really goes anywhere. So then we go over to the Guardians of the Globes, who find out that a big spaceship is coming from Mars full of cichlids, those little squid-like beings from Mars that can attach to humans and take over. And so Shapesmith admits that, in the first season, he knocked out one of the astronauts that was on Mars, on the Mars mission, and left it behind because he really wanted to go to Earth. This is a really funny scene because Shapesmith is just hilarious, and I love him in the show. But he explains everything that happened. He left them behind, and they're like, so if you left them behind, it's just like, you left them to die. He's like, yeah, but apparently the cichlids got him, so that's exactly what happened. They're a hive mind that require a person to attach to so they can, work in unison. Without that, they're just kind of, mindless and everything. And they can't attach to the Martians because the Martians can shapeshift. So because of that, the Martians have been using them as slaves. But since they were able to attach to the astronaut, he's able to control them, and he's pretty much conquered Mars, and now he's coming for Earth. So they're like, okay, well, we need to do something about this. So they decide to go to the spaceship and intercept it. They pick the Guardians that are going to go, and they leave behind Duplicate, Shrinking Ray and Rexplode. They're the ones who are going to get left behind. But they still need more manpower. So Rex is like, okay, I have an idea. And this is unlike me. So we go over to Eve, Samantha Wilkins, Adam Eve. And, in the last half of the second season, she had given up being a superhero because she accidentally got some people injured when she tried to repair a park. So it really hurt her spirit. So we see that she's more or less given up, but Rex comes and he gives her a pep talk because even though he's an asshole and he really hurt her, they've been friends for a long time and they were very close. So he's able to talk her up, pull her up, make her feel better. He's like, we all mess up, everyone has messed up, but you have been, you're one of the great ones. You've barely messed up. You're not in the red, you're in the black. So, I know you feel bad, but you always pick yourself up and you always do better. You're able to move past things. And he names all these things, the stuff that happened with her family in the Adam Eve special, stuff that we haven't seen when she first met Rex and his past, which hopefully we get an episode about that. That's going to be awesome if we do. So Eve agrees, and she ends up going to the spaceship with the team. And so the Guardians and Invincible, which Invincible also joins because he's also like, we need you to join us, go to intercept the spaceship, and the three Guardians, Rex, Kate, and Shrinking Ray, get left behind. So this is where it gets crazy. We have two big things happen. So while they're away, Rex is just like, this is going to be easy. We're going to eat some pizza. We're going to, enjoy ourselves. No big deal. It's not like two world-ending events are going to happen at the same time. Of course, Rex jinxed it. So the Lizard League attacks a nuclear missile facility and they take over. So Rex, Kate, and Shrinking Ray go to intercept them. So they get in this big bloody battle while Invincible and the Guardians are fighting the Sequits. They get to the spaceship and it shoots missiles at them and destroys their spaceship. But Eve, being the MVP, one of the MVPs this episode, is able to save them with her force field and able to use her powers to go through the spaceship and get them on board it, which Eve is always the greatest. But then Bulletproof smashes one of the Squidoids when he sees them, and it causes the Hive Mind to know that they're there. So the Squidoids come and attack them. So they're having a hard time killing them because there's so many Squidoids. And Robot decides that he's going to use his armor to use this pulse wave to knock them all off. And if they get them out the astronaut, they'll essentially, save the day. But before they can do that, they're just overwhelmed. And Eve puts out a spaceship, or a force field spaceship, to help protect them. But the force field ends up failing because, again, there's just so many Squidoids and they're just banging against it. So this is where the episode ends, with the wave of the Squidoids just falling over them. And we probably know what's going to happen. It's going to take over Eve and Rudy, who's out of his robot suit. So this is kind of where the story of the spaceship thing ends. But over at the Lizard League stuff, Duplicate gets killed by one of the Lizard League guys, the big buff one. She's having a hard time keeping him up, and he's just quickly killing all her duplicates. And eventually there's only one left, and he grabs her, and she gets away and makes another duplicate, but he grabs the other duplicate and just smashes them together, killing Duplicate, which really upsets Rex and Shrieking Ray. So Shrieking Ray gets super pissed off. She goes inside one of the Lizard League guys and kills them from within. And then she goes to help Rex, and one of the big guy who killed Duplicate eats her, and Rex is like, you messed up, because she gets bigger, and we see her growing, and it looks like she's gonna explode out of this Lizard League guy or kill him. The guy uses his muscles and forces himself to just squish her or whatever, and ends up killing her. So then it's just Rex left to handle two Lizard League people that are left alive, and Rex is just kind of freaking out. He's like, oh shit, So he runs away a little bit to get some room, but he gets chased down by this Lizard League lady with the claws. And sorry, I can't remember their names. I never remember their names. They're just the Lizard League to me. So he throws his batons, and he eventually gets her and destroys her, or her midsection, and she dies by being cut in half by Rex, which is very bloody. This whole scene is bloody and awesome. And then the big guy comes, and he starts fighting Rex, and he's already killed the other two, so it's like, oh shit, what, Rex is screwed. So Rex starts fighting him, he starts throwing things, and they're not having no effect on him or whatever. So he charges up one last thing, and the Lizard League guy just bites off his hand, and he's like, ow, ow, he's like suffering. But, like I said, he was charging one thing in the hand, so it blows up that Lizard League guy's head, and Rex is just there, completely beat up, missing a hand and everything, bloody, like he's about to die. And this is where the Lizard League leader guy, I forget what his name, King Lizard, I think his name is, comes up and puts a gun behind his head. And this section ends with Rex is just like, just do it, man. Just get it over with. So it ends with the King Lizard about to pull the trigger, which is an amazing scene. I love this stuff from the comics and everything. So, like I said, we're kind of left in two cliffhangers. Is Rex gonna die? Are they gonna, survive the space mission? But we also get an end credit scene of Alan being alive. When we last saw him, someone pulled the plug on his machine, and I don't remember if they showed who it was, but it ends up being Thaddeus, the leader of the Coalition of Planets, and he tells Alan that he did that. He's like, I knew that you can survive in the machine, but if I took you off the machine, there's potential of you becoming more powerful or dying. So he's like, I took that chance. And Alan's like, even though I'm a lot stronger, he's like, I never want to fight another Viltrumite. I never even want to see another one. And this is where we get the reveal that Thaddeus, like, he yanks off his beard. Of course he does. We find out that he's a Viltrumite. He's like, I'm the first and only Viltrumite ever to rebel. At least that's what I thought until you told me about Invincible. He's like, I need you to go to Earth and get Invincible because we need him. He might be the one who's able to turn the war against the Viltrumites. So that's where it ends. And whew, man, it is a fantastic episode. Really good. There's a lot going on here. I skipped bits and pieces because I'm pretty much rambling at this point, but it's very good. I love the stuff with the Lizard League. I honestly thought we were going to end the last season with that stuff because it's a good cliffhanger stuff, but obviously it works right here. I can't wait for the next episode. It's really good. Or it's going to be really exciting, and I can't wait to see what happens. It sucks that we lost Duplicate and Shrinking Ray. I wanted a week there. But this is what I love about Invincible. Like, no one's really safe. People die throughout the series. Obviously, we saw the first season. Robert Kirkman, if you've seen Walking Dead or if you've read Walking Dead, you're not safe. No one is safe, and it's the same thing with Invincible starts a little, not too edgy, but as the comic goes on, it really, amps up Robert Kirkman's style of writing where, I'm gonna kill this person, and we lose a lot of characters that you grow to learn and love. So it's just something you have to get used to, but it's part of what makes the series great and unique compared to other comic book series. Anyway, if you saw the episode, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.